to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to call upon my cabinet to assist Tri Creek School Corporation of students, staff, and community endeavors to be a
recognized leader
for
high achievement
and
exceptional growth,
okay, innovative and
equitable approaches build upon strong community pride,
and provide all students
with
well-rounded experiences.
to prepare all students or to prepare for future successes. All right, thank you.
That was impressive, guys. Well done.
We gotta finish it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
to achieve.
empowered to succeed.
There we go. Now we're
Good day.
Very good, very good. Alrighty. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
We actually do have a request for an addition. Today, we received monies from the state for our teacher appreciation grant, and so Dana would like to present that later so our teachers can get paid sooner. And
Okay.
if we were to, if the board entertains that, it would be item G4.
I'll make a motion for approval.
I'll second.
G4.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion passes to add this to item G4.
Teacher appreciation grant. Yeah.
All right. Public comment for agenda-related items. We have none. Superintendent's report.
Yeah, the only thing that I have to run by you tonight is looking ahead at calendars to pick up the conversation regarding our athletic handbooks and the drug testing. A while back, we had said we wanted to have a work session. So just looking ahead to January or February, is there any preference of the board of when to possibly hold a work session?
After January 11th.
Okay. So typically the second board meeting of the month, our Gibraltar Skillman group will come and we'll have a work session. If that's the case, perhaps maybe we could do a work session on the first meeting in February prior to the meeting, and then you're just coming one trip.
Which falls on
Okay,
February 8th.
thank you. All right, so we'll get that on the calendar and we'll figure out amount of time that might be appropriate. And that's all I had.
Alrighty, staff recognition.
Yeah, we had two, and actually one of the recognizees is here tonight, Jason Wathen.
He's smiling now.
Jason is always available day or night, weekday or weekend. He supports his staff and has been known to jump on a lawnmower to help out. He silently supports everyone but takes no credit. He is an exemplary example of leadership and should be recognized for his daily dedication to Tri Creek schools, and we certainly have seen that. So congratulations, Mr. Wathen.
We appreciate everything you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other one was Megan Kirstenowski, second grade teacher at Three Creeks Elementary School. From a parent, my daughter is adopted, and Miss Kirstenowski knew this early in the year. I explained to her over the summer that our daughter and my oldest son were adopted. My oldest son had to do a timeline assignment in second grade that made him feel really bad since we didn't have any photos of him as a baby. It killed him and us knowing that he was so worried about everyone knowing he was adopted. Miss Kirstenowski went above and beyond this year. She remembered our story and explained to the kids that they could do their favorite moments in life of their timeline. Our daughter came home nervous and upset that her class would find out, but once Miss Kirstenowski explained it to her, she was so excited to do the project. The small thing that Miss Kirstenowski does in her classroom to make her students feel happy, safe, and welcomed is absolutely amazing. I couldn't have asked for a better teacher for my daughter as she tries to find herself. She is one of the best that we have had in Tri Creek. So.
That's great.
Glad to hear it.
And there's stories that go on like that throughout the school that we don't even hear about.
There are,
It's amazing.
and I recently told some members of my staff, I'm like, I just need to start nominating them myself,
For
because
sure.
they are all over.
Yep.
Do we have like a easy way for people to like just click on a link to send in a nomination?
We do.
Okay.
We advertise it in our district newsletter, it's on our website. It typically, when we shoot it out in a newsletter, we'll capture another one or two, so it may just need to be a standing item.
Maybe we can share it with the buildings themselves and they can share the link on their social media pages too.
For sure.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Or in their newsletters as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It might catch attention of a few more people.
Yeah.
Good ideas.
Yep.
Thank you.
Love hearing those.
And that's all I have.
Alrighty. Board member report? Anybody?
I mean,
Nada? Alrighty. Alright, regular business consent items. Approve the minutes of the meeting held on Thursday, November 9th, 2023.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye.
aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Number one, personnel. Approve the personnel report dated Thursday, November 30th, 2023.
I'll make a motion to approve the personnel report.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Alrighty. Number one, approve the overnight athletic trip to the Lowell High School wrestling team to participate in the Al Smith Wrestling Invitation in Mishawaka High School in Mishawaka, Indiana on December 28th to the 30th of 2023.
I'll make a motion to approve the overnight athletic trip.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? They've been doing that wrestling tournament for a long, long time.
It's a great indicator of where you'll kind of fall for the state rankings and when you
Yeah.
get to that level of the tournament, like.
For sure.
They go there to find out where they really fall in the pecking order.
Right.
So it's a good tournament.
For sure. All right, all in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Number two, approve the administrative supplemental contracts.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Number three, approve the proposed revisions to the support staff handbook.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion
I'm
passes.
so used to waiting to hear somebody say something about it, but
Right.
there was enough information.
For sure, sure. Alrighty, and number four, the teacher appreciation grant.
So before you is the memo that I've prepared to go out to staff. Teacher appreciation grant is from the state, $40 million a year that's allocated to that, and then it goes through a formula and each school district gets an amount. We received $121,236.06 for a total allocation. It is about, I think it was $800 less than it was last year when I looked at it. In looking at the allocation, we have 156 teachers that qualify for this. Specific to this grant, it defines a teacher as a person who instructs for the majority of their day, 50% or more. So there are other members in our bargaining unit that are not eligible for this, which would be our counselors, our school counselors, our media specialists, and our deans. Typically in the past, the board has always granted the same amounts that you see before for the distribution to those people, only we pay it out of the education fund. They're part of the bargaining unit and we'd like to include them. Student support advisors are not part of the bargaining unit, but we always scoop them in too. Those are our counselors that need elementary money. So this year with the calculation, a highly effective teacher will get $632.52 gross on this, and an effective teacher will get $474.39. State code requires us to do 25% more for that highly effective, so that's why the difference in amounts there. I would like to pay this out on December 5th, coming right up, and get that as soon as possible. Code requires us to pay it to teachers within 20 days of receipt, so we'd be well ahead of the deadline. The one thing I do want to note too is that, yes, we received $121,000, but our policy also takes money off the top, a proportionate share, and gives it to NYSEG, so our NYSEG teachers can also get a bonus to a stipend like that. So that amount was just a little over $10,000 that we're sending to NYSEG.
And this is a one-time event,
This
it's
is a
not
one-time,
recurring.
yeah, this is a one-time stipend that is funded by the state.
How long has the state been doing this?
2016 was the first year, I believe, right? That's what we saw the other day.
Is it something we expect them to continue doing?
It has been. It started with, I think, 30 million the first year, and they bumped it up to 40 million, so it's been pretty regular.
Well, it's a good timing too with Christmas and the holidays.
Absolutely.
They're required by code to get it to the school districts by December 1st, and so the 20 days, I think they kind of.
How much about that?
Right.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
I'll make a motion to
I'll
accept the
second.
tag.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Thank you. Consent item.
Donation. They're all donations.
All the way down?
Yep, all the way down.
Holy cow.
You know what? That's
Get
a
that
blessing to
auctioneer
have all these
going.
donations.
All right.
This.
Number one, accept a donation from James Argadelis of Lowell, Indiana, in the amount of $1,000 to help support the Feed Them Forward fund to pay down the negative student meal balance. Number two, accept a donation from Gary Pike of Lowell, Indiana, in the amount of $50 to help support the Feed Them Forward fund to pay down the negative student meal balance.
These are fantastic.
Accept the donation from Scott Parker of Lowell, Indiana, amount of $20 to help support the Feed Them Forward fund to pay down the negative student meal balance. Number four, accept a donation from Scott Yonover of Chicago, Illinois, an amount of $225 to help fund the Lowell High School band ECA for competitions. Number five, accept a donation from the GFWC Lowell Women's Club in the amount of $100 to help support the Feed Them Forward fund to pay down the negative student meal balance. Number six, accept a donation from the Lowell Athletic Booster Club in the amount of $2,000 to help fund the Lowell High School Athletic ECA for transportation. Number seven, accept a donation from the Family Express Corporation in the form of coupons valued at $536.50 for student activities, perfect attendance rewards at Oak Hill Elementary School. Number eight, accept a donation from the Rotary Club of Lowell in the amount of $500 for student support services at Lake Prairie Elementary School. Accept a donation from the Rotary Club of Lowell in Indiana in the amount of $500 for student support services at Oak Hill Elementary School. Number 10, accept the anonymous donation of replacement brake kit valued at $105 for the Lowell High School Vocational Automotive Program. Number 11, accept a donation from the Lake Prairie Elementary School PTO in the amount of $371.38 to help fund the kindergarten study trip. Number 12, accept a donation from the Lake Prairie Elementary School PTO in the amount of $151.13 to help fund the grade 4 study trip. Number 3, accept a donation from the Lake Prairie Elementary School PTO in the amount of $15 to help fund the grade 5 study trip. Number 14, accept a donation from the Three Creeks Elementary School PTO in the amount of $350 to help fund the Veterans Day program.
I'll make a motion to accept all of these amazing donations.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
What do people, is there a donation thing like on our website that these people donate to, or is it just?
I am working on that. I have to talk to my technology guy over there, but yes.
Or do you just get a check in the mail? And
It's check and cash right now. We
Okay.
don't have an option for donation, but
And then the negative balance, does that just take that negative balance to 0?
well, we're going to wipe those accounts in June on there, and we're gonna have a procedure there for that where they can apply for that to ask for a waiver in that way. Currently, right now, we have $5,751 as of yesterday of negative lunch accounts. Three Creeks, about $256, Lake Prairie, $422, Oak Hill, $428, the middle school here, $1,888, and the high school, $2,755 is the breakdown by school. Our current fund that we have, that includes some rollover funds that we had from last year, plus the donations you see tonight, has about $1,558 in it. So we definitely could use some more donations to help fund this. And we will have our wellness committee meeting in January and pull together a full policy on how these will be applied. Because we do have a policy, but we'd like to change it a little bit and put in an application process.
I'm always amazed at the generosity of our community and the clubs that are within the schools. It's just amazing how generous they are.
I do want to say we never turn a child away, or we don't give them something else instead, like a cheese sandwich or some peanut butter and jelly. We always give them a school lunch. So we are a school district that does that. Other school districts don't. They will, provide alternate meals. We don't. It's not the child's fault. We continue to feed them. It's, a situation that's just, in our community, so that we don't hold it against the child. I just want to say that. No one goes there. And that's just, we work with this. It's necessary.
Alrighty. All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion passes. All right. Technology, accept the proposal from the MNW Wireless Surf Internet of Elkhart, Indiana to provide the district internet wide area network service for a 36-month period. Is that what they're saying for?
I'm pretty sure that's what it's Mr. Blackman is here. It's basically a new vendor for internet service. Anything else to?
Yeah, this is for our district internet services. We do this every 3 years. We do take it out to bid. This time around, Surf Internet, who you may have seen around town, are the ones that are digging everything up, including my yard right now. They came in with an incredible bid, and so we expect some significant savings. They're very excited to be able to work with us and are looking forward to working with a lot of businesses here in Lowell and really expanding their services. So,
are there any advantages over performance versus what we have?
Yes, the speed that we're going to be getting from them is the same as what we currently have right now, but we have the ability to expand that up as we grow or as our needs grow. In the past, that has come at a higher cost. However, they have worked with us that they're basically setting one cost for us, and we can go up as much as we need to. So big difference from what we've had previously. I've talked to some of our neighboring districts, Portage, Hammond, and Crown Point have all utilized them for services and have been very happy with them. So I'm very comfortable going with them as a new provider in our community.
Good, because they seem like the new guy in town, and you never really know if they have any back. So
we've had great success with our prior provider, which was Comcast. We've been with them for many years. Sorry to see them go, but this opportunity and this price is something we really can't pass up.
So will there be any kind of a hiccup when the transition takes place?
There will not. Actually, they're going to work with us. Our contract starts on July 1, which means our contract with Comcast will be over sometime in June. They have agreed that they will have everything up and running by June 1st. Great. So there'll be a very quick and easy cut over on our end.
Great.
Excellent.
And I do want to add the contract, I'm asking you guys to approve this pending any changes from the school attorney. It's under review with our school attorney right now.
Okay.
So we're approving tonight pending any changes.
Okay. Thank you. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the proposal.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alrighty, academic calendar and school day discussion.
Yeah, so typically by this point in the year, we would have come to the board with a recommendation for school calendar. There has been a delay this year because of some recommended changes. And it's important to note that people don't just make change to change, that there's always a challenge that facilitates or a way to do things better. So with the calendar that we have in our current school year, we are given 3 days by the state of Indiana to conduct e-learning days, which means asynchronously. We don't have to have teachers online at the same time as kids. So on an e-learning day, assignments are posted. Basically, it's an independent study at home. We are afforded 3 days. 2 of those days are for professional development of our staff because we don't have any other time built into our calendar to do that. And then we use the third e-learning day as a flex day in case we have a school cancellation. And if we don't, then we use it for staff development. So that's item 1 to note. The feedback that we've gotten in regards to the full staff development days is that it becomes a really long day and almost overload, and there's a sentiment it might be better and more effective in smaller chunks. So I'm looking at Mr. Deal because I don't know if you have anything else to add.
I think like the big word is frequency. So like when you only have them 3 times and then you try to pack everything because you can't get sub coverage to like bring a grade level team together or department together, so you really load your agenda or you give a lot of that collaboration time, sometimes you don't have the time afterwards to do with which you learned. So I like the idea of frequency where you've got that shorter burst that blends kind of when you're getting the training, when you're getting maybe some exposure and work with a consultant, but then because you're meeting on a more frequent basis, you have time to meet with your team and colleagues to work with that stuff in between those opportunities. Yeah. So I think frequency is the big thing for me, so more focused and digestible lights.
So some other school districts do have a concept of early release, and they can do that in greater frequency.
We used to
Mr.
do that.
Anderson,
Dr. Queenfish.
Here, Mr. Anderson, I think that might be a permanent marker.
I checked earlier.
Oh, did you? Okay. It's got that casing. It made me nervous.
It was right here. I did the same thing. Like, oh. So here's the deal. The state requires students to go 180 days. If you are a performance qualified district, you have flexibility with that. So just put a pin in that. Second item, if you are provided flexibility and you're a performance qualified district, which we are, then you're not held to this 180-day requirement, but you're required for grades 7 through 12 to have 64,800 minutes in a school year. And actually it's grades 1 through 6, it's at 54,000 minimum. For Tri-Creek, we are at our minimum. And since we are at our minimum, we have to go 180 days. Unless we figure out a way to add more minutes. So now I'm going from school year calendar number of days and flipping over to the school day. Our elementaries start school 8 o'clock and they dismiss at 2:30 for students. Our middle school begins then at 8:15, dismisses at 2:45. High school, 8:30 begin, 3 o'clock dismissal. We've determined if we were to add at the secondary level, because that's actually where the issue is. We have banked minutes in grades 1 through 6 that we actually don't need, or actually 1 through 5 currently. No, it would be 1 through 6. But if we were to add 15 minutes to the day, we will have better flexibility to maybe not have to meet the 180-day requirement. And so I'll come back to that. So we have a proposal for the calendar that I'm going to share with you, but it's dependent upon this. So middle school will go from 8:15 to 3 o'clock. Herein lies, it accomplishes two things. Number one, we can bank minutes for flexibility. But number two, currently 60% of our students are sent to the cafeteria at 3 o'clock to wait for a bus. You'll notice that's already 15 minutes after student dismissal. That's a systems issue, right? When over half of your student body is still waiting for a bus 15 minutes after dismissal. There are a lot of kids at the high school currently that are still waiting for a bus at 3:30 when dismissal was at 3 o'clock. So by adding 15 minutes to both middle school and high school, you get flexibility, we can bank our minutes, plus we fix a systems issue.
Wouldn't that just bump out the time to 3 for the middle, or yeah, for the middle school to 3:15 or 3:30?
It would, because the buses are currently starting to pull in.
From the elementary?
Yes.
Just gives them a little bit more time to get here.
Transportation director said, you know, if you put a 30-minute gap in between here, the kids are already waiting, and then at 3 o'clock is when they start to filter out. So that is the current reality. Our buses actually won't be delayed, they're just gonna show up when they already show up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it really wouldn't change a bus schedule. It would actually make our district more efficient.
Well, basically, you're just getting the actual minutes that we're already using or doing.
I feel like when
But
we
it would
were
be
in high
for
school,
all
we had
schools.
8:30 to 3:15. I feel like I remember 3:15.
We didn't start at 8:30, we started earlier than 8.
Yeah, I was say,
It
remember,
was
sorry.
8.
Actually, it's like 7:50 if memory serves.
I was gonna say it was 8 to 3.
7:52.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So it would be 8:30 then to 3:15 at the high school level?
Yep, so
is
the
the
start
proposal.
times wouldn't change, it's just the dismissal time.
And just confirmation, you have LMS up there, but it would also include LIS for
Correct.
next year
So
because
it'd
the
be
building
grades
would be
5
through 8. Okay.
I like not changing the front end. I like leaving the
Right.
8 o'clock, 8:15, 8:30.
When do they change the start time?
Which one?
So that goes back in history.
Well, 8 o'clock just changed for the elementary school, like within the past couple years.
Who were they before?
It was 8:15.
Oh.
Yeah, because Colton started elementary school at 8:15, and like 3-4 years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, they switched it to 8 o'clock.
Is that when they went to the?
We started school at 6:30.
And you had to walk,
When they
right?
went to the walk both ways.
Both ways, uphill?
Uphill in the
It's been
snow.
It's been a decade plus to
Is
hear
that
No
why they
shoes?
started
about the delays.
So
So
they
when
call
it
that
was-
the block schedule?
Yeah, even before that.
Okay.
So it was going back at least 15 years when we looked at the push to 8:30 so that there was a 45-minute chunk of collaboration time in the morning. So that goes back a decade plus.
Is there a way buses for elementary could just take elementary kids?
So
That would
Mr.
open up more
Becker,
buses for middle school and high school?
for our whole district, the answer is gonna be no, because we're so vast.
Right.
But Mr. Becker has already started working on some ideas for the buses that are closer to town to run for this school, for the following school year, grades kindergarten through 4 routes. Get kids out, get them back in another route. So he's trying to condense that.
In other words, Eagle Creek is still gonna be real late.
Well, because I know of 3 buses that go by our farm, 3:30, all within 5 minutes of each other. But then my kids don't get home till 4 o'clock, and they're on a totally different bus.
So that's probably another deep inquiry.
Right, yes.
So.
That's why I didn't know if you could
Sounds like we need to do,
elementary buses just for elementary kids, if it would free up some buses for the middle school and high school.
so here's what would happen. If we end up going this route, we obviously have to reroute, but I think we would need to do an audit, like what's going on? Is there a reason why there are 3 buses going by one house in a matter of, I don't know how long?
How much time will this bank us by adding? Like, what will it allow us to do?
So, put a pin in that question,
Okay.
because I'm gonna add another layer.
Got it.
Since we're starting to add layers, I'm going to pass out a draft version. So what we're proposing is to save our 3 e-learning days for possible just snow makeup days. So then when would we do professional development? We spent quite a bit of time talking with the teachers union and just having a think tank together. And we came up with a hybrid. The first Wednesday of each month, beginning in September, so you see the shaded with the bold-faced square around it, September through May, first Wednesday of each month, would be a 2-hour early release. So kids go home 2 hours early, and that would provide 2 hours and 15 minutes to basically conduct the professional work of our teachers on a more frequent basis. I can tell you that this model has proven to be effective in other districts.
Wait, which one?
The first Wednesday. So see, it's like this
Okay.
one, that one.
Ah, okay, I'm with you now. I got lost.
And that extra 15 minutes would support this.
It will, because without the additional 15 minutes added on and banked, you have to, we would have to keep our school day strictly what it is and no less.
What'd you say the early release time would be? 2 hours?
Yep. So for elementary, 2-hour early release day, their day would go from 8 a.m. to 12:30. Middle school would be 8:15 to 1 o'clock, and high school would be 8:30 to 1:15.
Does that get all the lunches in?
Yes.
Is there a way to do it the other way around, where they would come in late? So the teachers would be here first and have their work. So that way, a few things I'm thinking. One, it might be easier for parents to get kids on the bus with older kids, siblings that are home if they have to be at work at a certain time, versus us letting the elementary school maybe come to an empty home and waiting for the high school to eventually get there. It might help with that. And then the other would be like our after-school extracurriculars, not having that gap of time.
So actually, when you were a student here, that's how it was.
Okay.
That's how
Would
many
it-
days it would take us.
The
With the
problem
extra
and
15 minutes
concern
instead of 180.
is when you get the group of teachers together first in the day, everybody's mind is on what's getting ready to happen. And then kids coming into the building for supervision. It really is a model that has been tried. You don't have people's focus.
Would there be after-school care?
So
Provided,
for
like-
some other schools that do this for their athletes, they organize study tables so that the kids can stay, have a study table, and then go to their sport practice.
What about like the elementary school level, those kids that go to Adventure Club? Thank you.
Now, the parent would need to organize care on the first Wednesday of every month, which is also another reason why you see it on the first Wednesday, just for consistency for
I was
families.
going to say, as long as parents know in advance, they can plan. It's the surprises that make it difficult.
How does midweek deal like as the teachers? What did the teachers think about the midweek?
That was the choice, like after the conversation, we kind of grappled, there was some talk about Monday, there was talk about Wednesday. And I think we landed on Wednesday because you see kind of higher absence rates on Mondays and Fridays. So like in the middle of the week there, where you've got some of your highest attendance, lowest amount of subs traditionally, that's kind of how we landed on that. And it's in the middle of the week, so you get like a nice little breakup in the middle of it. It doesn't feel like it's rushing at the end or kicking off at the very beginning.
Plus, you can prepare for that event, and you can utilize what you've learned the remainder of Thursday, Friday. I think it looks good as long as we're making up the time. And I think it's better on the back end to add the time than try to take it away from the front end.
I worry about the early release
A little.
with parents, and because our district, so I know that there's other districts that do utilize early release, like Crown Point. I'm pretty sure does early release, but their elementary kids get out after their high school
Right.
kids. So their older siblings are home prior to any little or younger siblings getting home.
Or even potential for neighbor babysitters or
Anybody.
whatever.
So I do think that could be a pushback from
On those half days you're
community.
talking?
Yeah, on the early release days. I like the extra 15 minutes, 100%. I think that's needed. I worry about the early release. If Adventure Club isn't offered, if there's not something there, and
Could we rotate the schedule so that the high school, middle school, somebody in the older groups are home first, and then the elementary schools come home
maybe
second?
something
Even
to think
similar,
about.
I was thinking about that too with weather days. If we have inclement weather where the kids get sent home, the rarity that happens, but it happens so quickly, having that as a plan, again.
Why
so
could we
those little
not get the Adventure Club to extend for 2 hours?
It's logistical, it's monetary, it's space, it's staffing.
And not all kids go to that.
Right, no, I understand,
And
but
it's-
for those that need that
But
service.
Adventure Club would have to hire additional people to only work once a month, and in our job market, that's just highly unlikely.
I know in Hebron, we had a club that, would take care of it after school and even before school, so either would work, but.
We do that, we have that now, but it's consistent. It's not the one day a month.
So I get the need for consistency, but what would it look like? And is it possible, instead of like an early release, could it be no school every 2 months or something like that, where it was like all fully pre-planned?
So then we're back to full days.
Oh yeah, I get it. So yeah, that's my only concern, is just the early release with the community.
What would this do for the e-learning days?
Save them for school closures.
So it would still be there, but you wouldn't
So if we
necessarily have
close,
to use that.
yeah, if we had a snow day,
You could
it
use
becomes
that.
an e-learning day,
Yeah.
Or a fog day.
and then you don't have to make it up.
If there's any way that we could rework the middle school or high school being home first,
On those days?
on
Just
those
on those
days,
days.
and even on inclement weather days, just having that plan, I would feel a lot better about doing this, but just as a.
You like that permanent marker?
Yeah, sounds great.
Might have to get a little lacquer thinner on there.
Would you ever entertain this scenario? Well, yeah, then you gotta move this up. Would you ever entertain flipping elementary to be the last to start?
No. I've seen studies.
I would. Katie
I've
and I
seen
have
studies.
difference of opinions on this.
They did a bunch of studies about the success rates and high school students, that age group, even some of our middle school students, their circadian rhythm cycle, your sleep cycle, naturally changes when you go into adolescence, to where you fall asleep later. Like in the middle of the night, you don't get till that REM cycle till much later, so you need those extra hours of sleep in the morning end. Whereas younger kids, the elementary kids, don't need that.
So question, could we only do that on the first Wednesday of every month? So they used to do the Black Day or whatever, where the high school would go 30 minutes late on Wednesdays or whatever. I could totally be wrong, but I feel like that was a thing where it was like Wednesdays, the high school started later or something. Could we just on those Wednesdays, first Wednesday of every month, switch it to where the high school came in at 8 and the elementary came in at 8:30, allowing for the high school to be dismissed first on the early days?
So we'll have to consult with transportation to see what that does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
if
that's
anything.
nice.
And then I think the second item would be, does that create confusion for families? And if we don't feel like it does,
Oh, there's always gonna be somebody that's gonna be opposed to it.
Yeah.
I'm concerned that my bus is always out there at such and such
Yeah.
time, and
Right.
now, oh my gosh. it
Oh,
was
this is that Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel a lot of emails coming.
If we're able to not, if we're just able to like have that, if those 15 minutes don't mess us up that much on those few half-a-days, that would be nice to just switch the dismissal.
I'm just wondering if you get all the lunches in, if
You
you,
get all the lunches in.
if you would take the high school and let them dismiss first.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like, so instead of dismissing at 1:15, they would have to dismiss before
So-
elementary school.
I will tell you this. This is another possible scenario. LHS, LMS,
Mhm.
and flip-flop these two.
Mhm.
The reason that I like this is for fuel conservation.
Mhm.
Because what happens in this scenario, if you think in the morning, buses drop off elementary, they drop off the high school kids, they drop off the middle school kids, and they drive across the parking lot and park for the day. That's saving gas on our entire fleet instead of coming back from the high school across town. Well, that's gonna add up over time. So we talked through that. Plus it would get high school kids home earlier
Mhm.
if young ones are there. The problem, the biggest problem, and the cabinet can chime in, is we do have several teachers on the middle school staff that coach extracurriculars at the high school. And it becomes almost, I think it was a 30-minute difference every day that kids would sit idle.
Honestly, though, transportation-wise, like, my kids ride the same exact bus. So my middle schooler gets on the bus, takes the bus to the high school, gets on with my high schooler, and then gets home. So even if you swapped the high school and middle school, they're likely will have to pick up at the high school, then come here to get the middle schoolers to then take them home, unless he completely changed it and the high schoolers were all on a bus by themselves. So it's not gonna necessarily get your older kids home first. I mean, I'm okay with, approving it and we can see how it works, and if it's bad, then we, adjust it accordingly. We're letting people know in advance that it's happening.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if it will become a concern and something that we would have to change.
Anytime you have change, there will always be.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah.
Does the change and the benefit of the change outweigh the inconvenience?
I just don't want to see a bunch of K through 4, home by themselves or trying to navigate that.
With
if
the
we can
adventure
get-
club, is that something that like you could hire high schoolers to fill in?
So I was just gonna bring up, like high schoolers that were going into like
You run into all
Child
kinds of
care,
issues.
some kind of child
Education.
care education thing.
I think without an adult supervisor, that becomes problematic.
Yeah, Kevin and I were just talking a little bit about maybe the 180-day employees who are not teachers that don't have to be here for the PD or classroom aides or other that would be more, that would lose pay because of those days.
Oh, yeah.
Might be an option, but
Along with some high school students
we'd
that
have to
assist.
work through some logistics in case, if it becomes the thing to be, let's just stay and, I'll be in the
Others
gym and
full
have fun, and then you've got the whole school. And,
Yeah.
So we'd have to work through that, but we were just kind of talking about the support staff that might lose something in this deal, or may not be part of that PD, or we'd have to find PD for them, we'll have to think it through.
I think what I have an inkling to do is draft a form of a parent survey question.
I think that would be good.
To go out and say, if this situation, there were a 2-hour early release on the first Wednesday of each month, how many families would not be able to coordinate care for their children?
Yeah.
Again, the fact that it's
I
spelled
like
out
early
and
release
it's
on Friday.
consistent,
Right?
It's in advance, just like anything else. It's the surprises that make it extremely difficult for parents.
But you don't.
I suppose I'm thinking
How
of
many
the-
parents do you see when you have an e-learning day, and you know you have an e-learning day,
Yeah.
and they're scrambling trying to find.
Yeah, not everybody has grandparents or a neighbor or somebody to call on. And I think that subgroup of individuals is growing in our community over
sure.
time as our community dynamics
Dual working
have changed.
households and everything.
Yeah, and just the influx of people that aren't like original Lowellians, you know, that grew up here and have family here. So I just want to make sure that we're mindful of those littles. And I know that when we had a previous early release weather day, that was a topic that came up on a lot of the socials that I saw, and I thought, oh, that makes so much sense to have the older kids at least home, so there's a neighbor you can call on, because if you yourself are stuck at work and can't get home in time, you know, because that happens so quickly. So just having this conversation and putting it out there helps start those gears to turn, and maybe us come up with some solutions.
I think as well, like, even though it's more hours, we know that in those households where you've got multiple parents working, they're not typically working till a 3 o'clock day. A lot of them are working like 9 to 5 traditional. So I wonder what the solution is when they're getting home at 3 at the K through 4 level now, and mom, dad still isn't home till 5 or 6 as it is.
Right.
You're adding time, I get that, but there is still circumstances, I would imagine, where the parent isn't home until a more traditional business hour type of day.
But you're still giving them an advance notice
Sure.
that they
Yeah,
can
and I
plan.
guess
Whereas
that's
a
what I'm saying.
snow day is a surprise.
Right.
Yeah,
If
that's
someone could open up a daycare just for after-school kids, that'd be
daycare, period. It's hard to get in any
Right.
childcare right now.
Yeah.
and not having one in town is
See,
See, we should have kept that fence from the high school. We could have just made a ring.
Put them out there.
Okay, well,
So
All right.
I think I've achieved the objective. I
Yeah.
needed to see how receptive the board was. Okay, but wait, there's more. So that would be the 2-hour release each Wednesday, and then a half day, one time per semester. So you'll see on the illustration in front of you, I believe it's September 25th
Yeah.
and February
26th.
26th. Those would be half days. The dismissal time would be no lunch on half day. So elementary would be 8 to 11, and then 8:15 to 11:15.
No lunch.
what would be the purpose of those days?
A larger chunk of time for professional development.
And why do we have to go to lunch with the other ones and not these? Is it to get our hours
It's not
in?
logistically possible.
Got it.
We also place those, so in the current reality of a fall, winter, and spring testing window with NWEA, so we put the fall and the winter after that, because that's kind of your heaviest day where you're looking at how students are achieving and growing in anticipation of your spring assessment. And with the new I Learn Through Your assessment that's coming in 25-26, those are still gonna be a fall, winter, spring. You're gonna get your benchmark data then. So like when you were booked for an extended period to either bring in a consultant or do more of the heavier lift, it's timed perfectly so that you've got all of that collection done.
what do the 2 lines in the middle, October 18th?
Those are grading periods, like when report
Oh,
cards
great.
come out,
Okay.
looks like. Yeah.
All right, so another layer is, if you'll notice in October, there is opportunity as well to have anywhere from a 3 to perhaps a full week of fall break. So in this particular draft, there's the 14th, 15th, and 16th would be fall break. And then you'll notice in February, we create a Friday off, so you have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday off for the President's Day weekend. What's the purpose of that? About that time of year, educators, kids, it's a time where if you had a recharge and a reset, it's helpful. And we know it's helpful because they can catch their breath, as is evident when we come back from Thanksgiving break, from winter break.
need to do an Indiana moment.
And I was cognizant of this because Crown Point does a full week. And so I was watching the weather this past year. They had a nice week of weather. They were off school. For families who vacation, you can get lower rates because it's not in the typical fall break. And then our fall break came and it snowed on Halloween. So the other nice thing about that particular week is it's transition time between sports seasons. And so having that time off for some sports is more convenient.
And it's the end of the grading, it lines up at the end of the grading period, which is a nice.
Right.
The only thing that I don't like about switching the fall break is the kids having to go to school the day after trick-or-treating. It just becomes a really long night that, you know, it gets
Long
difficult.
night. DeMont starts at 4:30.
We do not, though. We're not the Mont.
Well, maybe they should start earlier.
You know, and I know that there are some towns that always put their trick-or-treating on, like, the Saturday before or after or whatever to accommodate. We don't do that for whatever reason. Our town always does it on Halloween.
You're not trick-or-treating if it's not slightly dangerous, dark, rainy, cold.
Right. But then you gotta, like, try and go to bed after being hyped up on candy and get your kids up the next morning for school. And then, Lord help the teachers who have to deal with them all day.
They commented on that.
It's, I mean, to me, I would rather see if we could take a day somewhere and have the first off, if that was possible, or everybody go to the town and see if we can't trick or treat on a day that's not Halloween, but it is what it is, so it's my only 2
It sounds like
cents.
the board is receptive to elongating a fall break.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
100%. I'd love to see 3 to 5 days.
7 to
What time
9.
does prom start school?
It's the same day as illustrated on our calendar right here. So it is
What time
after
did
the
the trick or
county
treat at
fair
Lowell?
is upcoming.
No, what time?
5
Oh,
to 7.
my fault.
technically.
It varies from high school to middle school to elementary.
They start earlier. Yeah, their elementary starts last at,
Yeah.
at 8:30, 9 o'clock, something like that, and
They
then,
don't get out till like 3:30 probably?
yeah.
This would throw a wrench into the whole calendar, but for like future planning, can we start later and go later?
You can, there's a lot of,
I like that.
that personally, that would be my preference.
Yeah.
However, it's not the norm, which doesn't necessarily make it bad, but from an academic performance, like even if we were delayed 2 more weeks, that's 2 more weeks that our kids don't have a leg up when they're taking their assessments and
because
then
of
are
the
compared to
End
other
of the year
schools,
assessment.
right?
I see.
Nice, because we have shared services between us and other districts, so.
Yeah.
Would have to be
we
a
started
regional
later
share.
and.
Yeah,
we're
all of our,
shared teachers.
all of our AP testing and
When did
it'd
you
be
start,
really for that reason
Yeah,
alone.
that makes sense.
when did you start school when you're in Illinois?
Around this time, actually about a week earlier.
I was gonna say, most places that I know outside of here start a week early.
I think she started after Labor Day, or maybe it was like a week before Labor Day.
That's how it was in Virginia as well, but they had it built around their
Yeah.
tourist schedule, because, well, plenty of reasons, but we started always after Labor Day in Virginia.
So in central Indiana, they start school like August 4th and 5th. They take a week in the fall.
That's our
the fall
hottest days
breaks.
of summer.
They do. It is kind of early, right?
And parents get upset because they can't take their vacation.
They do it
Right, yeah.
2 weeks
June.
spring break, so.
June anymore is crummy and rainy and cold, and then
I
August is nice.
think what we're trying to do is not to get overly radical, but really fulfill some needs. What people need to understand regarding professional development is really what's driving the school day and the flexibility.
It's not traumatic adding 15 minutes to the day, and if we can have that extra time for the teachers to get them prepared on the various subjects, that would be great.
Which
But
is
there's always going to be somebody that's not going to be happy, and, you know.
You made mention the other day of, teaching being a science, science
The
teaching.
art and science.
An art of science, yes, and it is. And this schedule of the regular every month opportunities brings it back to that. It brings it back to that professional side of it outside of the classroom that matters significantly. So I like that aspect of it.
Collaboration time, training time, and really, well, that's for the teachers. But if your teachers continue to get the training and the support and the collaboration to be better teachers, who benefits from that?
Exactly.
A lot of good things can come out of those. It's a good recharge, it's a good a good motivation opportunity. There's a lot of good that comes from it.
And I can tell you guys that when, even we look at one grade level, like let's say they get a half day and we pair it with another, so like 3 subs per building, Dana's phone is blowing up and she's like, Kevin, what do you have going today? Because even just one grade level in a building to try to get them collaboration time sends the entire sub pool into a tizzy. And that's just like one half of a day with a shared sub splitting it. So it is very needed and it puts a lot of strain when you try to carve that out, but it's important time, so.
Yeah.
I can tell you all of our ideas have not been vetted against the DOE's guidelines, so we do have some work to double check to make sure all of this would be in alignment. 2, we have another scheduled calendar meeting next week with the teachers union. But it sounds like you're good with looking at this. You're good with looking at a possible early release. We'll put together a parent survey. We might have a quick turnaround on it, but we can at least get some feedback.
And maybe doing just a 2-hour delay on November 1st. Like, just work that into the calendar.
It's a fine idea.
Maybe it could work.
It's always going to be foggy that day,
Right?
guaranteed.
Like, what can we make that happen? I think that would make teachers happy.
Add that and the first day of school,
happy.
fog delay.
A scheduled 2-hour delay on November 1st.
I like it.
Good work.
All right.
Are you gonna erase all that? I want to see that.
Oh, it's worked so good.
It is so permanent marker.
When you
It
put
looks
the
like it's
spray,
missing
it'll-
some of its surface anyway. It's probably ready for
Ready to be resurfaced.
Yeah.
Thank you for your input
Yep.
and your ideas. That's good.
Alrighty.
Moving on.
I don't know where my, okay, sorry.
All right, board policy.
Oh, yay.
First reading of the revised policy 8210, school calendar.
Yeah, so in case you don't have your electronic version, there's
There you
a
go.
eye squinting version coming your way.
No, I don't know how to do it either. Just doing it online. You can read it better on this. Nope, you need that one.
So this has some minor tweaks, brings it up to date. And I'll just read through this. School calendar, the proposed revision states, the school board recognizes that the preparation of a calendar for the instructional program of schools is necessary for orderly educational planning and for the efficient operation of the corporation. The superintendent shall prepare annually a recommended academic calendar to the school board for approval. The total number of days when the schools will be in session for instructional purposes shall be in accordance with the guidelines as presented by the Indiana Department of Education. The school calendar shall designate days for the makeup of any required instructional time due to emergency school closings. This corporation shall submit to the Indiana Department of Education the total number of actual instructional days according to the procedures outlined by the Indiana Department of Education.
It's just the same thing.
And so this is
It was bigger on the back.
Yeah.
this is procedural and first reading. Are there any major concerns with how it's presented to you?
I don't have any.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So we'll put that on the agenda for the next meeting as a second reading, and yeah, if all is good, then we'll recommend it for.
If you could make the font just a little bigger for us.
It's on the back.
Oh, okay.
This whole time.
Color.
It just cut off a little bit on that right
Okay.
margin, so.
It does it too on our board docs. I just saw it. It's the same way on the-
Right.
We'll try to get that ironed out.
Alrighty. The next one would be the first reading of the new policy 2240.01, challenges to library, challenges to library, media, and other supplemental materials.
So this is a result of a new law that passed this summer. It is required for school districts to adopt a policy. And so what you have before you, the board recognizes the right of teachers, librarians, and administrators to select books and other materials in accordance with established curricular and student programs. Library, media, and other supplemental materials will be chosen based on educational value and student interest. Every effort will be made to provide materials that present all points of view with topics deemed to be controversial. Parents or guardians having custody of any student enrolled in the school corporation or a community member who lives within the school corporation boundaries may request that the removal of library, media, and other supplemental instructional materials on the basis the materials are obscene or harmful to minors as defined in Indiana law according to the following procedures. So, 1, a person having a concern about the use of library, media, and or other instructional materials should first discuss the concern with the school librarian. 2, if the individual is not satisfied after the discussion with the school librarian, the individual should contact the building principal to discuss the matter. 3, if the individual is not satisfied after talking with the building principal, the individual may further the inquiry for removal of the material in question by completing a request for removal of library, media, and or other supplemental materials form available in any school office and submitting it to the superintendent. 4, upon receipt of the completed form, the superintendent shall request a review of the challenged material by a review committee within 15 working days. The challenged material may remain in use during the review process. The superintendent shall appoint the review committee consisting of, but not limited to, media professionals, administrators, classroom teachers, parents, and if deemed appropriate, students. 6, the review committee shall take the following steps after receiving the challenged materials. 1, read, view, or listen to the material in its entirety. 2, review the definition of obscene and or harmful to minors as defined in the Indiana Criminal Code. So what you see there is the actual Indiana Code for obscene as well as harmful to minors.
Okay.
6, the review. 8, the review committee shall make a written determination as to whether the material is obscene and or harmful to minors and should be removed from the school library. The review committee's written determination shall be given to the superintendent, the building principal, and the person who made the request to remove the materials. 9, the person requesting the removal of the materials has the right to appeal the review committee's decision to the school board. The appeal must be in writing to the superintendent within 10 days of the receipt of the review committee's determination. And finally, the last step, the board shall determine, based upon the findings of the review committee, whether to retain or remove the challenged material at its next public meeting after receiving the appeal. The board may also consider other resources in making its determination.
Oh.
Just want to clarify real quick because we went from 6 to 8. So, and then we went from, so 4 to 6 and then 6 to 8. So
5.
Are we missing 5 and
6.
7?
I didn't recognize anything that's missed. It was probably a formatting
An error in.
because
It
when
looks like it, because look at the spacing even.
actually when I printed it out, I'm like, why are those numbers in there? It was one of those auto features when you hit print. So, yeah, the formatting can be fixed.
Okay.
Confident. Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Will this review committee just be chosen at the event of, if somebody made
You
a
don't-
request, or will it be?
Yeah,
determined in
because
advance?
I think context is always everything. So if it's like a 10th grade, depending on the grade level, I don't want to form a committee and say, hey, if we get challenged, then you're the person.
Right.
It really makes sense for the people involved who really know the material.
Put together a good committee that's
Right.
got, that's relevant to them.
Yes, that's great.
And you'll check on the numbers to validate that it's not missing versus format.
I can tell you there's nothing missing.
Okay.
Can I
Yeah.
ask one question? With the last statement, number 10 on our sheet, it says that once you receive the request to have it go to the board for determination in number 9, that it'll happen at the next board meeting. So what if that person files the request the day before the board meeting? Does that give the board enough time to review the recommendation from the committee, to consider things in order to take board action at the next meeting, which might be next day?
Well, I would imagine that if something was brewing, you would keep us informed prior.
Well, what I
to
can
it.
tell you is that's actually how the law is written.
Okay.
It says the next meeting.
Right.
So we'd
Okay.
have to deal with it at the next meeting, yeah. It just might be a really long board meeting.
Where was it? Something said 10 days.
9, it says that
Oh,
the
9.
appeal must be written to the superintendent within 10 days of the receipt of the review committee's determination.
So that 10th day could be the day before the vote.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Table until the next.
It's a good point, but we,
Have we
it's a
had any
non-negotiable.
recent questions about?
We have had 2 years ago, there was.
Before you guys got
It
it.
wasn't library material, it was material in the classroom, and so we addressed it.
Yippers. Alrighty, thank you.
Public comment number 2.
All right, public comment for non-related agenda items. Jerry Patrick?
I'm gonna hold off. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alrighty. Anybody else? Was there anyone else? The end? That was the only one? Okay. The next meeting of the Tri Creek School Board, trustees will be Thursday, December 14th. Anything else? Once, twice? Sold.